Hello, I'm Mr. Adu. I'm the middle school math teacher. All the 6th and 7th graders here, I know you already know who I am. We have no new 6th or 7th graders, so the stuff that I'll be saying, you've heard already. And if you're in your 7th grade, this is your third chance to hear it. Okay, 5th grade parents, I'm sure we only have one new student in the school this year in 5th grade. The rest of you most probably have seen me around. I've been here forever, okay, and I've taught some of your children, and I may have even taught you or your husband or well, your spouse. Anyway, I'm not going to give you a big detailed rundown of my grading scale, okay, because I made another video for you to look at that has all of that on it, okay, and I will be sending that video home with you on Google Classroom, on your child's Google Classroom. And I highly recommend you look at it. And I also recommend if you have any questions on it, we will be having a Q&A Google Meet that you can join in and please ask questions. Okay, just a couple of general things that I wanted you to know. Okay, first of all, okay, excuse me, I believe in what's called mastery learning, which means we move at the pace that your child goes on, which means I can't really tell you in advance when they're going to have a test or not, because I don't give tests until I feel like as a class they pretty much understand the material. I do that in math because math is a subject I think that everything builds on everything else. And if you lay that good solid foundation, everything else falls into place without any problems. Okay, so again, I try to give at least 3 or 4 tests each 9 weeks. I give a whole bunch of quizzes because those are the things I use to evaluate whether they understand what they're doing or not. If you're in accelerated, things are a little bit different, and you'll get a video explaining what the accelerated procedure is. By the way, for 5th graders, we don't have a 5th grade accelerated. We only have a 6th and 7th. I will tell you this, though, in general, and you'll hear this on the video that I talk about later. If you want your child to do well in this class, the 2 things you have to worry about, number 1, homework, and number 2, corrections. Okay, homework is very important in math because math is a skill. And in that skill, you have to practice to get good. If you play baseball or football or any other sport, soccer, you're not going to ever be good unless you go and you practice a lot. And that's what the purpose of the homework is practice. So students who don't practice don't do well. So homework is a large percent of their grade, as you'll see. Okay, and then corrections are important because on quizzes and on tests, okay, like I tell kids all the time, it's okay to make a mistake. I've made tons of them in my life, okay? But the important thing is that if you learn from the mistakes you make, and that's the point of the corrections. So, just to sum up what I'm talking about here, first of all, make sure you look for the other video that I'll be sending you, okay? I'll send you an email telling you when it comes out, okay? But look at that video, and if you have any questions, make sure you tune in when we have our Google Meet for all the different parents who have questions, the Q&A Google Meet that we'll have. I'm not sure the date of that one yet. By the way, a lot of things are changing around here, and I'm an old dog trying to learn new tricks. But I'm going to do my best, and once we know things, I'll make sure I'll let you know. But I do believe that communication is the most important thing, okay, to your child succeeding in his class. So if you ever have a question, shoot me an email or call the office and leave your number, and I'll call you back. Okay, but if we want the kids to succeed, we have to communicate with them, with each other, so that we're working on the same page. Looking forward to the year, it's going to be starting out with all the COVID, not all, but most of the COVID restrictions, mask and what have you. But hopefully things will clear up and everything will go really smooth. Looking forward to working with your child.
Hi everyone, I'm Mimi LaBeouf and I am the middle school reading teacher. I will also be teaching 5L religion, but I know that Mr. Adu has spoken to you or will speak to you about religion, so I'm just going to concentrate on reading for right now. Those of you who have had me in 5th and 6th grade already are going to find a lot of this information very repetitive. You're very familiar with this. But I do want to make sure that my new 5th graders are aware of some of my procedures. So first of all, welcome to all of my middle schoolers, my new middle schoolers, my 5th graders. This is a big transition. It's going to be very new, but and we're going to be moving classes, so I think everybody's going to enjoy that as well. My contact information is the best way to contact me is through email, and that address is mlebeuf, MLEBEUF at stfrancisxavier.com. You can always reach me that way, and I'm happy to respond to any questions that you have. So, as I said, I will be teaching 5L religion, but Mr. Adu will concentrate on that in another video. So for reading, one thing that's important for everybody to know is that the reading textbooks are very heavy. And so I do not send the textbooks home. The 5th and 6th graders have access to their textbooks online, and I will be sending home their usernames and their passwords to you. So you'll get that long before we start working in the book. We will be working on summer reading first. So starting on Thursday and going through until next Wednesday, the students will be working on summer reading. So they have a period of time there to get those tests done and to do some other AR reading, that type of thing. So we won't get started with the textbook for about a week or so. So before they do that, you will get their usernames and passwords. 7th grade textbooks are not available online. So instead of sending the heavy book home, I make a copy of the story and I also give them notes. So all of you will find that I give the students notes to use to study. So while they may feel a need to reread the story, they should have everything in the form of notes to review for a test. So again, reading textbooks do not go back and forth. They kind of live in my classroom. We use them in the classroom, and then they can find those stories and the information they need to study in other areas. So I've mentioned summer reading. We will start taking summer reading tests on Thursday, and we'll finish that up. If a student does not do well on a summer reading test, okay, I realize sometimes they've read the books early and they don't remember all the details. I do give them an opportunity to pull up the grade by doing a short book report. So you'll get more information about that next week. So if they score below 80% on a summer reading test, they can do a book report on the form that I give them, and all of those book reports will be due by August 23rd. So there'll be time to work on that. So accelerated reader counts as 10% of my reading grade each quarter. Remember that summer reading tests don't count toward the goal. I will send you information with the point scale and what the goals are so that you can know how I'm going to calculate the grade. 5th graders need 10 points for a Gene Day. I believe 6th and 7th graders need 12 to earn their Gene Day. We'll use the IXL program, and it's going to count as 5% of their total reading grade each quarter. I will star certain skills in ELA, and they will work on that, and I will grade those twice each quarter, before progress reports and again before the school year. Okay, so I will give you I'll give the students more information about their IXL requirements as we get into the school year. My students do an awful lot of writing for me. They write about what they read. So they will have 4 journal entries that they will complete in Google Classroom. All of the information will be there, everything that I'm looking for. The most important thing is to try to answer and complete sentences and answer all of the questions that I require. So if they read those instructions, they will get full credit for their journal entries. Middle school students take 4 spelling tests from me a year. Now, this is different from Mrs. Donnelly's vocabulary book. So they will have a spelling list that I post in their classroom, but I also staple it in their language arts notebook. And so they would have these 4 tests. The tests are taken on the Chromebook, so you can see their grades, you can see what words they missed by going into their Google account, looking in their reading classroom, and you'll find the results there. So the spelling test count is 30% of their total reading grade. My students work in their textbook, usually at the beginning of the school year for the first few weeks, and then we work on novel studies. So they have 2 types of tests. They have tests that are based on the book, the textbook, but then when we're working on a novel study, the tests are based just on that novel study. 5th graders read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. They read A Wrinkle in Time, and they read Number of the Stars. So those are the 3 novels we work completely in the textbook for the first quarter in 5th grade. In 6th grade, my students read Maniac McGee. They read The Indian in the Cupboard. They read Tuck Everlasting, and they read Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim. So each novel is done each quarter, and the exam is on just that novel. 7th graders read The Giver. They read an unabridged version of A Christmas Carol. They read The Hiding Place, which is an autobiography all about Corrie ten Boom. And then they finish up with The Westing Game, which is a mystery, kind of like the game Clue. So those are the novels that we work with. So 5th graders are given a copy. 6th and 7th graders need to have their own copy. We take exams in 5th grade only in 3rd and 4th quarter. 5th graders do not take exams the first 2 quarters of the school year. And again, the 5th grade exams are on their novels, 3rd and 4th quarter. 6th and 7th graders do take exams each quarter. And again, the exam is based on the novel. I also incorporate handwriting into my class load. It is not a part of the reading grade. It's a separate grade on the report card, but this is just one final attempt at having the students learn to write well in cursive. So I teach it as if they haven't seen it before, and we progress through the year. We'll start with strokes and letters and words, and we build, of course, into sentences and paragraphs, that type of thing. So handwriting will be a separate grade on their report card. Weekend review packets are always sent home on Mondays, and I ask that they are returned by Wednesday. I realize sometimes there are reasons why a packet might not come back on a Wednesday, but it just helps me with organization if I can get those things picked up and taken care of. I think it's very important for you to see your child's work, so this would be a chance if you see that there's an issue for you to let me know. Or also, and just for you to keep up with what they are doing in school. So I think the other teachers have mentioned to you that we will have a session where you can ask questions. So I hope I've touched on some of the things that are important for you to know. I am sending a lot of this information in written form home. My 5th graders will receive it at the drive-through in a packet of information that they receive, and I will give it to my 6th and 7th graders to give to parents on Wednesday. So you'll have that. But please know that you can always contact me, and I'm happy to work with you, and I'm really looking forward to a wonderful year. I'm so glad that we can be in school, and I'm glad that our kids can move from class to class, and hopefully we will get past this mask mandate and some of the restrictions that we're under. So I'm looking forward to a great year. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Welcome, parents, to another wonderful school year for the 2021-2022 school year. For y'all that do not know me already, my name is Jonathan Vitale. I'm the middle school science teacher, and this year your child has my class, and it's going to be a wonderful, exciting year. We hope that we have a more normal year than last year, but as things progress, we shall see. As far as science goes in the classroom, if your child's in 5th grade, they have a survey science, which will consist of most of the year being earth science, and then we'll spend part of the year on physical science and part of the year on life science. For 6th grade, it will be all physical science for this year, and for 7th grade, it'd be life science, which is mostly biology, getting them ready for 8th grade. This year, we will start off for science in what was formerly the computer lab, as they are reconstructing part of my room as they insert the new windows. So your child may say, oh, we're in the computer lab this year. In the beginning of the school year, for at least, I believe, at a minimum of another week or two, will be in what was formerly the computer lab. So let's just talk a little bit about classroom procedures and how I'll handle things and when I'll bring you in if need be. So during the first couple of days of science class, no matter what the grade they are, we will go over classroom rules, classroom procedures, what happens if you don't turn in an assignment, when can you expect grades, things like that. And I'll give you the parent portion of that right now. So I have just 5 basic rules for my students, and they all center around the foundations of our school, which is be safe, be respectful, and be responsible. And the students will see this posted in classroom every day when they come in, even in the new computer lab classroom. But let's talk about what happens when a student breaks a rule. We're going to have a conference, as always. I'll confer with them, usually in private. Let's get to a root cause, and then we'll progress from there. If it does progress from there, rather, then I'll bring you all in as far as parental contact. And I like to do both parent contact for good reasons and bad reasons. So hopefully you hear from me a lot this year for the good reasons. As far as the individualities between grade levels, the 6th and 7th grade does differ from the first half of 5th grade in terms of how your student is graded, as far as the percentages go. So for 6th and 7th grade, I'm using my cheat sheet here, tests will be worth 30% of the grade, exam 25%, homework 10%, quizzes 15%, and then collaborative activities at 20%. For the 5th grade, for the second half of the year, it will mirror what I just said for 6th and 7th. The only thing that differs is the first half of the year. So the first semester for 5th grade students, tests are 40%, quizzes 25%, homework 10%, collaborative activities 25%. So let's talk about what a typical quarter will look like for your child, for my students. So a typical chapter for each quarter, and we try to cover 3 chapters a quarter is the goal for each of the grade levels. And in each chapter, it's broken down into sections for that chapter. I like to do at minimum 2 quizzes per chapter, and a quiz will be on a lesson for that chapter. I try to work in 7 to 10 collaborative assignments, and that could mean IXL research assignments. It could mean independent video assignments like Nearpod or PBS Learning Media, which we've used before. It could be a peer-to-peer assignment as a collaborative activity. It may mean individualized discussions amongst peer-to-peer. And then it will include per chapter about 5 to 7 homework assignments. So for each chapter, we're looking at minimum around 12 assignments for that chapter. So there is many opportunities besides the test to work on a grade. Now, of course, your grade for a quarter, as you know, is based around that test grade. That gives the grade the most shape. But all these other assignments, and I will preach this to your child, they affect what that grade will be. They affect it in such a way that if they don't turn in the assignment, of course, it will just bring in that test grade down more and more. But we don't want that. We want to build up the grade. Okay, so not only do you need to study for a test, but you need to make sure you get in those assignments. And let's talk about what these assignments might be. As I said before, I like to do at least 2 quizzes per chapter. I like to do them at the end of each lesson. That's 2 grades right there. Of course, we'll have a test will have homework assignments throughout the chapter, and those might be IXLs as homework that relates directly to the chapter. We might have a practice test that will be due. They have the unit reviews at the end of each chapter and also at the end of each unit of the book that will be as homework assignments. And then we'll move into the collaborative activities. So collaborative activities for me is something that we do in class for a grade that doesn't necessarily fall into homework, test, quiz, exam categories. Okay? It will be our group, our peer-to-peer, our whole class discussions. It may be exit tickets about what we learned that day. Sometimes IXLs, when they're not directly tied into the chapter, they will fall under collaborative activities. It will be the Foursquare reviews that the students will learn about, something new I'm doing this year, I'm bringing back rather. That will be a collaborative activity. So there's many opportunities for your child to work on their grade for each chapter. Okay. Homework assignments and any other graded assignment that isn't a test or a quiz will be due at the end of the chapter. Now, I will put in due dates in the grade book for those things, and they are suggestive due dates, okay, if they want to keep a good pace. But ultimately, the final due date for everything will be at the end of the chapter when we take the test. Now, I feel that even after the test, there's still opportunities to learn for that chapter, so I do provide the opportunity for corrections, for extra points at times. No matter what, the child will have to do corrections. Sometimes they will get back points for those corrections, though, and it does vary from a quarter of a point back to a full point back per question missed. Okay? And as I said before, they're going to do it no matter what. Sometimes it will be for points, sometimes it won't be. It just depends on how we did throughout the chapter. Now, there are a few new things I'm bringing into this year, and that centers around more research-based approach for the different learning goals that we have for the year. And as the year progresses, I'll go in more detail about that with your child's individual classes. I'm also bringing in more opportunities for outside work for bonus points this year through a recycling type program, and I'll go into further detail about that as I get the information for it. And then also, we will just be adding in, since we are under different type of restrictions, we'll be adding in this year more activity and lab-based activities that we can do in the classroom this year that we couldn't necessarily do in the previous year because of COVID and static grouping and things like that, since your children are coming to me this year and not the reverse as the last year. So I'm really excited for this year. I hope you are too. I hope your children are excited too, but I understand that the beginning of the year can be rough, getting back to a normal sleep schedule and getting back to a full workload for them, as they'll be walking around like we have in previous years as they're getting homework, just, all the things that come with going back to school.
Hi, I'm Karen Donnelly. I'm the middle school English teacher, and I am so looking forward to get to know my new 5th graders that will be starting with us this year, and looking forward to welcoming back our returning students. It's going to be a great year. There'll be some changes even for students that have already been here. We'll be changing classes, and this is the first time that we'll have to make sure we come prepared with all our supplies to the different rooms. But this is going to work out great, and it's going to make it an extra special year. Just to give you a little bit of an idea about my English curriculum, of course the 6th and 7th graders will be familiar with it, but again, my 5th graders very quickly will adjust. The 5th graders have already received in their book night packet the information that I'm going to be sharing, so that you can peruse it at your leisure to see if you have any questions. We will be scheduling a question and answer series later on, so that if there is something you're puzzled about, you surely can ask me then. I have a lot that I have to squeeze into the precious minutes that I have with your child. I have English grammar, of course, that I have to deal with to make sure that every student knows the parts of speech and how to put a sentence together and how to write a sentence successfully. I also focus on the writing aspect of English. They need to know how to compose and carry through a theme in a complete essay or paragraph. And then, of course, something very new that is new for fifth grade. My sixth and seventh graders are very familiar with this. And this is a series called Vocabulary Workshop. And it is an awesome way to not only add new words into your vocabulary, which is so critical in reading and writing and so necessary for getting into high school and into college to expand your vocabulary, but it also allows me to work on parts of speech, because the words, then the student has to learn the different parts of speech that accompany that word, and the great variety of ways that a word can be used, because sometimes they can be nouns, sometimes they can be adjectives, depending on how you use it in the sentence. There are certain skills that will be required to know for the actual vocabulary test. I have them posted in the fifth grade letter, and my sixth and seventh graders already know. I do expect every student to complete a study sheet, because you will be guaranteed a +5 on your test when you turn the study sheet into me on the day of the test. So of course, that is a valuable way of increasing your grade. There's no set time that I do the units in the vocabulary workshop. It sort of just is geared to whenever it's a good opening in my planning. We don't finish all 20 units. I usually get to about 9 for fifth grade and 11 for sixth and seventh. I have some great vocabulary websites that you can use to help you study for a test. I have them posted on the fifth grade information sheet that went home, and I will certainly remind my sixth and seventh graders about it again, but they also are familiar with the program and would know which websites they can go to. The English grading scale for fifth grade is slightly different in the first and second quarters than in the third and fourth quarters, because in first and second quarters they do not take an exam. So consequently, it has to change for the third and fourth quarters. They are required to do IXL, which changes approximately every 3 to 4 weeks, and encompasses the skills that have been learned in English during that time period. They are required to get at least an hour's worth of time spent on the skills selected, and the goal is at least an 80% mastery, but you get so much better at it the more you practice, so hopefully that will increase to 100% as the practice increases. That will count for 5% of their grade all through the year. In first and second quarters, I have test weighted at 75%, and in third and fourth quarters, the test will be worth 55%, because they will have a 20% exam grade inserted in there. I also have throughout the whole year a 20% that's considered an HAP grade. The H stands for homework, the A stands for attention, and the P stands for participation. There's no reason why every single student should get 100 for this percentage. Answering questions in class, asking questions in class, participating in discussions, always having their assignments, coming to class prepared. All of that goes along with my HAP grade, which is a boost to a child's grade at the end of the quarter. I do send home a weekly packet, and it will include any tests that I have given the prior week. The tests go home always on a Monday, unless of course a Monday would be a holiday, and they are required to be returned on Wednesday with a signature. You just have to sign the first test on the packet. You don't have to sign every test behind it, but it does require a signature, and it must be turned in on Wednesday. We are going to be sending an additional time for a question and answer session for you to ask any questions you may have. I love English. I love sharing that knowledge of our words, the beauty of our sentences, and how the way you compose them can be so impactful in anything that you are writing. My email address, of course, is kdonnelly@stfrancisxavier.com, and you can contact me that way anytime you have a question throughout the year. My 6th and 7th graders grading scale will remain the same throughout the year, and that would be with a test grade and a HAP grade and an exam grade, and then also the 5% that I'm still requiring them to participate in IXL. This is something they're used to. It's the same grading scale that I've used in the past. I am so excited about our year, disappointed that we have to go back to some of the restrictions that we had last year, but a little bit of loosening of them in allowing the students to change classes. So we're excited. We're going to make it another great year, just like we made last year another great year. Looking forward to sharing it with your child. Have a great day and can't wait to see the students. Bye.
Hi everyone, I'm Megan Fournier and I'll be your new social studies teacher in middle school. You may have known me for the past few years with Penny in pre-K 2 or in aftercare or at summer camp, but I'm super excited to be moving upstairs and to be joining this awesome team and to be getting to know all of you and all your students. In my classroom, I'm super excited to be teaching these subjects. My degree is in history, so it's like returning home and I'm super excited. Each grade is a little different. 5th grade, we'll be doing a start of a nation, so the indigenous people or tribes of several different countries, colonies, and then all the way up to the American Revolution. 6th grade, we'll be doing ancient worlds, so ancient Mesopotamia, Egypt, Greece, Rome, all of them. We're going to touch a little bit of everywhere before the end of the year. 7th grade, we're going to be starting right where 5th grade leaves off. So the American Revolution all the way up to Civil War and Reconstruction. Each subject is a lot of information, but I promise you I'm going to make it as entertaining as possible and not get bogged down. I am a very hands-on teacher, so I love projects and discussions and debates, and that's going to be part of our classroom. In my classroom, I'm following the foundations of the school: be safe, be responsible, be respectful. So I expect my students to be open and ready to learn and have these discussions, because a lot of these topics are heavy-handed and there's going to be a lot for civics, and I want them just to get a full grasp of everything that we're learning. For the first few days of school, we will be covering all the procedures and expectations with your students in my classroom: how we turn in homework, where to find absent work, how our grade's going to look like. But with you, I'm going to go over it real quick. I'm going to get my cheat sheet. So for 5th and 6th and 7th, it's a little different. 5th grade first semester is going to be slightly different than everything else. So it's going to be tests and quizzes are 15% of their grade. Exams will be 30% of their grade. Participation, which is like debates we have, or class discussions, or group interview, partner work, that's going to be 10% of their grade. Assignments and homework that I give them will be 15%, and then projects we do will be 30%. And the only difference is 5th grade first semester, and they won't have exams. So that's the only difference to their grade. And all of this will be on facts, and if you have any questions, just let me know. As far as the rules in my classroom, I am a very open teacher. I expect my students to be respectful of their classmates, of the discussions we're having, to me, to their fellow teachers, to everyone involved. I expect to be safe. We don't want any injuries here. We don't want any poor language, any fallacies, or anything like that. And then as far as responsible, I just want them to be ready to learn, be prepared for class, and then maintaining their integrity. I want to get the best out of your students. I want to prepare them for high school, and just teach them the subject that I love so much. So if you have any questions ever, please just email me. I'm more than happy to explain. I know I'm new, and so you probably have a lot of questions for me, but I'm excited to get started with you guys and your students. And yeah, I'm excited to be in middle school. So I hope to see everyone soon. Bye.
This is Mr. Adu again. It's not that I forgot what I was supposed to say. I am old, but I'm not senile quite yet. Actually, the teachers asked me if I would talk about, in general, about the religion classes. Okay, this is the first year any of us are teaching religion, except Miss Welty, Miss Lynn Welty will be teaching the sixth grade religion. Okay, but as far as the seventh and the fifth grade, this is the first time that we're teaching it. Okay, so we'll be kind of feeling our way through. But I had attended a class this summer on getting certified in religion, and one of the things the teacher said that I thought was really great, okay, is that in religion, okay, you should try for three things: mind, heart, and hands, which means there are things that you have to study and learn and memorize, like prayers, like certain facts about our faith, okay? But there's also certain things you have to feel in your heart, like prayer services and different things that deal with the emotional part. God loves us and he wants us to show who he is, and he wants us to love him back. So he wants to feel it in the heart. And finally, hands. We can't just sit and pray to God. We need to go out and do stuff. Now, at the beginning of the year, we will not have St. Vincent de Paul Junior Society. I'm disappointed, but we can't because of COVID. But I'm trying to think of things that we can do to actively be involved. We will have a breakdown of how much the different things are worth. I believe we said something like, don't hold me to this because I didn't write it down like I was supposed to. But I think like 10% is on homework, maybe 30% on tests, and 10% on exam. And then the other 50% will be on projects and activities that we wind up doing together. So in other words, 50% of the grade will be mind, and the other 50% will be heart and hands. All right. So again, I think this is a different approach than we used to have. Okay. But I really think that I'm real excited about doing this. I have grown very strongly in my faith in my years, all my years. Okay. And I really want to share that with your children. Okay. So again, if you have any questions about the religion, you can also tune in when we have our question and answer Google Meet. And again, I'm very excited. By the way, I will be teaching, every teacher will be teaching religion to their homeroom, except sixth grade, and that's when Miss Welty will be teaching to the sixth grade homeroom. So looking forward to a good year and to sharing my faith with your sons and daughters.